Chapter 80, Devastating Killing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's not that scary. Su Ming's smile was like that of Shura. The power of sword skills is originally increased by the agility attribute. Of course, strength can also increase, but not as much as agility, only for professions such as blunt weapons and boxing gloves. The strength attribute bonus is the highest. Swordsman can also increase strength, but that is another violent swordsman's path. With the super high agility attribute blessing, Su Ming's swordsmanship is not only fast, but also very powerful. It can even be comparable to the skills of some pure power monsters, coupled with the bonus of 20 times the original sword. Body, it is not surprising that he can take the double hammer. You can use the hidden step and the light step to avoid, but I don't know the real power of your attack, so I can't know the battle in the future. The attributes scanned by the Eye of Insight are ultimately paper data. Su Ming is such a master, he has experienced countless battles, he knows that the real power of an attack can never be inferred from a piece of data. It is also necessary to take into account the impact of skills, the enemy's anger, emotions, status, monster types, muscle density and other precise measurements. The Eye of Insight can only give a rough range of measurements, therefore, if you want to feel how heavy the opponent's attack is, the only way is to feel it with your hands. So, choose to take it hard. In this way, you can defeat you at the fastest speed. Su Ming said in a concentrated voice. However, he was not able to resist it completely. Boom! In an instant, the two skeletons' eyes flashed with deep green light, directly increasing the power of the hammer again. Su Ming's sword could not hold up in an instant. His tiger's mouth was cracked, and a few drops of blood flowed out. After all, it was an attack from two elite monsters with a strength value of more than 400 points. As a swordsman, he could only resist for a moment, which was already his limit. It was impossible to stop him completely, but Su Ming was not panicked at all. He suddenly put away his sword and retreated 3 steps, like a dragonfly touching the water. He lightly avoided the hammer. Boom! The giant hammer fell, the thick fog was dispersed, and a big pit appeared on the ice surface. It's enough to know how strong your attack is. It's nothing more than the level of being seriously injured. Su Ming's eyes were full of murderous intent. He said it easily, but what is the concept of being injured by touching? This means that the attack on you is extremely damaging. The extent to which a scratch will lose a lot of blood is called being seriously injured by touching. Only extremely heavy weapons with a very high strength attribute can have such power. If the shoulder is hit by accident, the entire shoulder blade, arm, and upper chest will explode into a bloody mist. If the thigh is hit, the entire trident and leg will explode. Su Ming was not afraid of this level of attack. His voice was unusually calm, his eyes were not panicked, but only showed a murderous smile that was about to burst out. He already knew how to kill. These two skeletons are too slow. Even if their skills are blocked by force, they have no other ability to change their moves. It will only increase strength in vain. Very stupid. This is the information Su Ming has found out. He chose to take their attacks just to get this information. Now, he can fight around this information and kill the enemy with one blow. Find out the enemy's trump cards and weaknesses, and then wait for an opportunity to kill them with one blow. This is Su Ming's fighting style. The purpose is to kill with a pure killing effect and to kill with one strike. The action of probing information seems to slow down the rhythm of the battle, but as the saying goes, speed makes waste. In fact, knowing the enemy is the only way to defeat the enemy faster. Su Ming is well versed in the art of fighting. His figure suddenly shook, and his clothes fluttered. Longguo microstep was performed. He rushed towards the two skeletons head-on. Su Ming's figure turned into a grey afterimage, running around them. He slashed a few swords from time to time. Su Ming also used the sword control technique to activate 2 additional swords. Xianbing sword and Mo Luo sword, the 2 weapons of the double sword skeleton. These 2 swords are also very powerful, and their quality is at the same level as the Shadow Flow long sword. The sharpness is very high. It is not difficult to cut the skin and flesh of these 2 elite skeleton monsters. Add to that the mind condensed blade, the black sword, and the blade in his right hand. Su Ming now. He was controlling 6 swords to attack at the same time. Even if his mental power reached 170, he couldn't hold on for too long. The consumption was too terrifying. six swords slashed wildly, he wanted to make a quick decision. In mid-air, dark blood gushed out, the health of the two Warhammer skeletons was decreasing madly, wounds kept appearing on their bodies, the two skeletons were stunned, they couldn't even see where Su Ming was. He kept moving at this high speed, constantly launching harassing attacks to deplete their health. It can be said that he was attacking their biggest weakness. How the hell was he going to fight? There was no control at all. The two Warhammer skeletons were in telepathy and roared angrily. They could only choose to swing the sledgehammer and start to attack the surrounding ground in a 360-degree angle. Since I can't hit you, I can only hammer randomly. I don't believe I can't kill you. The two skeletons hammered the floor frantically. Soon, the ice surface broke into a big pit, and the water mist disintegrated. However, Su Ming's Lingbo Weibu is a diamond-level body movement. It's not only fast, but also very chic. His steps are like ghosts, no matter how intensively they attack. It's hard to hurt Su Ming, they can't even touch the corners of his clothes. Soon, Su Ming cut their health to less than 10%. Su Ming wanted to end the battle quickly. Because his enemies are not just these two skeletons. In the distance, the most burly chain hammer warrior was still staring at him. Once he was attacked by three monsters, he would definitely not be able to bear it, so the tactic he adopted was to kill the two skeletons as quickly as possible, then he would focus on dealing with the skeleton warrior. The two Warhammer skeletons were furious, and their health dropped to the freezing point. If they took a few more attacks, they would die here, so they were angry. They triggered their passive skills, Furious Hammer Method. After they are injured, their attack power will surge. Now their health is extremely low, and the power of the hammer is even more terrifying. Boom. They smashed vertically towards the side, attacking with all their strength, directly smashed a huge pit more than 10 meters deep on the ice surface. Sharp ice fragments shot out and scattered everywhere. If a person stood here, he would definitely be able to pierce the indiscriminate splashing ice cones into a sieve, but Su Ming was too agile, and chose to use the crazy rain-broken phoenix sword to break all the ice debris. At the same time, he mobilized 6 swords and attacked the two Warhammer skeletons. Puff! The sword blades penetrated the bodies, and the heads of each skeleton were pierced firmly by 3 swords. Chapter 81 The Terrifying Dead Warrior. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su Ming gave all his weapons enchanted damage with holy attributes. Holy weapon enchantment. This is the skill he mastered to best restrain the monsters of the undead race. Killing with holy attributes can directly ignore your undead resurrection talent. As expected, the two Warhammer skeletons were killed instantly. They fell to the ground with their eyes wide open. All the undead aura on them dissipated and could no longer heal. Their bodies were completely dried up and could not get up again. Kill 2 rank 3 elite monsters. Experience plus 34,221. Extra bonus plus 10,000 experience for killing enemies across borders. Promote to level 27. Obtain 10 free attribute points. Su Ming's level was raised again. Moreover, he only needed the last bit of experience to be promoted to level 28. Su Ming estimated that if he killed the last elite monster, he would be promoted to level 29. He first allocated all his attribute points to spirit. Now he has too many skills. Every battle consumes a lot of spirit points, so he must increase it. His spirit points immediately reached 180, it is even comparable to some mages. This is the benefit of his innate 10-star talent. Every time he upgrades, he has more attribute points to allocate than others. Over time, the gap will become larger and larger, and he can even fight against others at a higher level. After the two skeletons fell, Su Ming immediately obtained some spoils of war. Elite undead soul alchemy materials, gold top grade, torn battle robe, platinum lower grade. Su Ming collected them all and found that he did not have time to sublimate them. He locked his eyes on the most burly undead outside. It is more than 3 meters tall, and is actually more powerful than the two Warhammer undeads. It is staring at Su Ming with a pair of empty eyes. It witnessed 2 of its men being killed by Su Ming, but there is still no emotion in its eyes. It slowly stepped forward, and the huge chain hammer in its hand began to rotate slowly. Clang! The chain symphony between each section of the chain hammer is like the whisper of death. Although it is wearing a broken, but still somewhat luxurious fine steel armor, it can be imagined that the level is definitely higher than the twin Warhammer Undead's. Boom. The general skeleton moved. He swung the chain hammer in his hand, like a meteor, and flew towards Su Ming. Su Ming's eyes were slightly surprised. So fast. Almost in an instant, the chain hammer hit Su Ming's face. He originally thought that this skeleton was so huge, and its speed should also be a shortcoming, just like the two Warhammer Undeads, but now it seems that this is not the case. He suddenly urged 6 swords to block. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 6 swords in the air flew back and blocked the chain hammer. At the same time, his 2 swords also crossed to block. Clang. A loud noise was heard, the iron hammer deviated a few inches. Su Ming was able to use the Longguo microstep to avoid the attack, but Su Ming also felt that his arms were struck by lightning and were extremely numb. His eyes were full of shock. This attack just now actually consumed so much energy, that the stronger the enemy's attack, the more energy Su Ming would have to consume if he wanted to block it. He immediately scanned the information of the skeleton. This look shocked Su Ming immediately. Dead warrior, elite monster, bloodline, undead, level 38, energy, 830, constitution, 502, agility, 208, spirit, 10, luck, 8, talent, immortality, skill, soul draining. It is one of the elite leaders in the undead army, so it can absorb part of the energy of the dead souls around it for its own use. Chain hammer mastery. It has used chain hammer weapons and has executed countless enemies, and has long been proficient in it. Wind chain hammer. When it uses chain hammer weapons, its energy half of the value will be used to increase the speed. Death strike. Lock an enemy with the chain hammer and perform a powerful attack that automatically locks. Liberation sweep. Completely release the chain of the chain hammer and perform a 360-degree sweep with a range of 67 meters, destroying all spirits within the sight range. Automatic defense. It has mastered the control of the chain hammer to perfection, so it can automatically block the enemy's attack with the chain hammer, as if it is at will. This dead general is different from other monsters in terms of title. General. The value of these 2 words is beyond words. There are several skills alone, far beyond ordinary elite monsters, especially the skill, soul draining, is simply supermodel. Just now, Su Ming scanned it and it only had 600 points of energy, but now it has become more than 800, it should be the bonus obtained after absorbing the souls of the 2 Warhammer skeletons. Su Ming realized that the combat power of this monster was definitely beyond his expectations, but this also made him more excited. If he succeeded in killing it, he would get more experience points. Even reaching level 30 in one fell swoop would not be a bad idea. Killing enemies across borders would get extra experience points. Su Ming had no fear in his heart, only extreme calmness. The stronger the enemy, the less he will be distracted. He raised his hand directly, activated 6 weapons, and flew away. Swish, the sword light flashed. Su Ming fully activated the Longguo microstep, circled around the undead warrior, and launched a harassing attack. At present, he didn't know what the monster's weakness was. The purpose of his attack was to test his weakness. However, this skeleton monster was really a bit too strong. It stepped on the ice with its legs and stood very steadily. Then he waved his wrist, and his burly body was quite flexible. The chain hammer flowed with his arm, and it actually formed an iron curtain, completely wrapping him up. Boom, boom boom boom. The sound of the iron chain was dense and dull, and it made a sound of breaking through the air. The attacks launched by Su Ming's 6 swords at the same time, such as slashing, stabbing, and swiping, were all accurately resolved by it. All the sword blades, once chopped, will be smashed by the iron hammer and fly backwards. This is its skill, automatic defense. It can automatically block all attacks. It's really too buggy. This skill is even more difficult to deal with than its other skills. Combined with its wind-like chain hammer skill, it is simply invincible. Wind-like chain hammer. When it uses the chain hammer weapon, half of the energy value will be added to the speed. The energy attribute of this monster has reached 830, and half of it is added to the speed. It is equivalent to 415 points of agility. this leads to its iron hammer swinging speed, which is almost at the peak. Combined with the automatic blocking skill, even if Su Ming has the bonus of the original sword body, it is difficult to break through its defense for a while. TSK. A bit difficult. Su Ming's eyes are solemn, and there is a bit of caution in his heart. This monster is very hard to fight. Chapter 82, The Dragon-Slaying Technique That Descends from the Sky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 82, The Dragon-Slaying Technique Descended from the Heaven. Roar. The skeleton warrior roared, as if he was annoyed by Su Ming's ultra-high frequency attack. It suddenly stepped forward, holding the chain handle with both hands, and suddenly shook it. Clang! The chain hammer was like a living snake, accurately smashing towards Su Ming's head. It gave up defense and chose to attack actively. He wanted to kill this player completely, it didn't care about Su Ming's tickling attack at all. Monsters can also become stronger after killing players. The rules of this world are not fair, and being a player does not mean that you are the hero of this world. Active attack. Very good. Su Ming directly controlled 6 long swords. During the gap when it launched the attack, the 6 swords finally managed to hit its body. However, this skeleton warrior was covered with a layer of fine steel armor, and his skin was thick. Even if the 6 swords hit it, it would not cause serious damage. The blood volume was almost only a layer of skin. On the contrary, the chain hammer, almost like a flash of lightning, rushed to Su Ming's forehead. The next moment, he would be smashed into a pulp. Su Ming directly used the hidden god step. At this distance, it is still possible to be hit by the lightning step. Although the hidden god step consumes a lot of energy, it is the safest way. Buzz. Su Ming's whole body turned into a black shadow, escaping a few meters, and disappeared directly from the rules of the world. This strange body movement directly avoided the attack. There was a bit of shock and murderous intent in the hollow eyes of the skeleton warrior. After all, it was a legendary body movement, reaching the level of a supermodel. This footwork even made it a little incomprehensible. It immediately chose to activate its largest range attack skill. Relief sweep. I saw its wrist open and close, and the 67-meter-long chain hammer suddenly extended completely. It made a huge steel chain across the entire field. Like a meteor, the iron chain was heavy, covered with layers of steel spikes, and it could even smash the 1,000-year-old glacier. Then, it held the chain hammer tightly and turned its whole body. Boom. The chain hammer began to rotate with the movement of its arm. It was like a 67-meter-long steel hammer, swinging violently on the battlefield. Wherever it passed, there was a mess. This skill is 360 degrees, in other words, there is basically no place to avoid. There is only one way to avoid this move: jump in the air. Su Ming stepped forward, and the lightest move of Longguo Weibo was fully activated. He became a gray shadow and jumped several meters in an instant. At the same time, he also used the sword control technique to activate several swords to form a petal. He stepped on the sword in the air and came to a height of more than 5 meters. At this height, the sweeping attack of the chain hammer could not touch him. Su Ming watched the opponent's move from a high place. It was really terrifying. He is simply a master of ice cleaning. The sweeping of the chain hammer is like a compass, and the place it passes is a mess, with potholes and bumps, and the violent phoenix blows away the thick fog. On the battlefield, a large circle with a diameter of more than 100 meters appeared. If a team of job changers were to challenge him, they would be annihilated. Su Ming was thinking quickly about how to break the situation. This elite monster was more terrifying than any monster he had ever encountered. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. He noticed a detail. A very subtle detail. There were countless sword marks on the chain and nails of the warhammer. They were cut by his 6 previous swords. Although this warrior was very powerful, his weapon didn't seem to be of high grade. Su Ming felt that he was about to touch the way to break the situation. Suddenly, his eyes lit up, as if he was thinking about something, and then he suddenly realized it. Yes, all the skills of this monster are centered around the chain hammer weapon. Whether it is automatic defense, sweep, wind-like chain hammer, or weapon mastery, they are all centered around his chain hammer. Without this hammer, he can hardly use any skills. Su Ming had a bold idea in his mind. That is to try to attack its body first, then destroy his weapon directly. Once there is no weapon, this elite monster will not be a concern. Su Ming made up his mind while descending. Let's do it. He raised his hand and clenched it. In the sword box behind him, the dragon-inlaid broken blade flew out, embedded in the broken blade, and condensed into a complete diamond-level long sword. With this sword, he will definitely be able to cut his chain hammer. Su Ming raised his hand to activate his strongest sword technique, perform it downwards. Dragon slashing technique. Su Ming fell vertically from the sky, a sword slashed down from the sky. In a trance, it seemed as if there was a dragon roar around. A brilliant golden sword light flowed from his hand. In an instant, it almost drowned the vision of the warrior skeleton. What skill is this? Its vocal cords had long been rotten, so the sound from its throat became a vague and rotten roar. It immediately activated the automatic defense skill. The burly body stomped with a bang, twisting around and swinging his hand. The huge chain hammer flew towards Su Ming. From bottom to top, it swung forward, trying to block the sword. As expected, it fell into the trap. Su Ming sneered, although its hammer was very powerful, but it was still too difficult to block the dragon slashing art after the original sword body was 20 times the bonus. Moreover, this monster was very large. Triggered the additional effect of the affix of the dragon slashing art, stopped Jiao Jin. When facing a huge monster, the power of this move will be greatly increased. The larger the enemy, the greater the power increase. Upper limit, 1000%. This monster is not very large, only 10 meters tall, but compared to ordinary humans, it is already strong enough, so this sword has more or less increased in power. The power of this sword is about 140%. Ding! The giant hammer shot upwards like a flash of lightning, forming a straight line. It collided with Su Ming's sword head-on. Boom! Instantly, a loud noise spread. It shook the surrounding area for several miles. I saw a dazzling golden sword energy slashing in the air. It filled up half of the house. It fell from the sky. The chain hammer weapon of the big skeleton warrior was directly cut into two halves. Even the several meter-long steel chain was split in half. Its weapon was completely destroyed. The power of this terrifying sword was still stagnant. It slashed directly on the ground. On the ice surface, a huge sword mark several meters long appeared. It was several meters deep. In the gully, it was all melted ice water. Because the temperature of the sword energy was too high, it melted the ice. This golden sword energy chopped the body of the warrior undead. Its upper half of the body was instantly shattered. It was shocked and took a step back in embarrassment, so it was not killed, but its health value also dropped a lot. Chapter 83: The Three Men Seeking Death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sword that Su Ming struck was too powerful. Some career changers who were taking risks around them all saw this scene. At this moment, several teams are fighting monsters in the ice forest in the distance. A man raised his head and saw the golden sword energy that stretched across the air. Hey, look, what is that? He said in shock. Everyone followed the direction of his finger and looked over. Everyone suddenly took a breath of cold air. Whose skill is this? Falling from the sky, so handsome. People were too far away to see Su Ming's appearance clearly. They could only see a tiny figure, waving his hand and slashing out a golden glow. Hey, Captain, do you know there is a sword technique that falls from the sky? A female career changer said in shock. Could it be Tathagata Divine Sword? It's not very good. The most famous long-distance swordsmanship skill is not available in our little D-level assistants. But the quality of his skills should not be low. There is a diamond-level swordsmanship. The master who is saved and can reach the peak of level 3 came to level up here. Brothers, take a detour. Don't disturb this god, otherwise we will have problems. People left one after another and did not dare to approach this place. There are also differences between the 3 turns. Starting from the 3rd turn, the skill tree will begin to provide the core skills of each profession, so the gap in combat power between each level is very obvious. Within a few miles around, all the adventure teams unanimously chose to take a detour and leave here. At this time, the diamond treasure chest guarded by the skeleton with red eyes and double swords, there. Are corpses everywhere, everyone has stopped fighting. Damn it, more than half of the people are dead, but the treasure chest hasn't been found yet. Is it true that the person who picked up the treasure box is not one of us? Everyone said through gritted teeth, their fists clenched and their bodies covered in blood. They went through a bloody battle, but did not take the treasure box, and they were extremely angry. Hey, Lu Gang, do you think the treasure box was really taken away by the swordsman when he became invisible? Otherwise, it's really strange that we haven't found him yet after we've been killing him for so long. One person said to the berserker. Lu Gang was a tall man. Hearing this, touched his chin and fell into deep thought. He just tore several people to pieces and searched their bodies, but he couldn't find the treasure chest. As soon as these words came out, everyone looked solemn. I have to admit, I am extremely capable. It's probably 9 out of 10. If possible, that sword master can take away the treasure chest. By the way, he has a treasure map in his hand. I saw it earlier. It seems like it must be in his hands. Everyone's voices were cold, they gritted their teeth, and seemed very angry. Everyone, please stop fighting and killing each other. They said loudly. Of the dozen or so people here, now only 8 are dead. The original action of to kill people and steal treasures ended up like this. The treasure chest was not taken, and a lot of people died. What a bad luck. Everyone felt very angry. We were fooled by that boy. What the hell? Boom. Suddenly, a huge golden sword energy flashed out in the distant sky. Through the dense fog for several miles, you can vaguely see an outline. You can imagine how sharp the sword energy is. Several people raised their heads and saw this scene immediately. Hiss. Look. A few miles away, there is a golden sword energy in the sky. Who killed that? Everyone's eyes were shocked, and they couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. Most of these D-class deputy officers are third-level job transferees. Of course there are those who are strong at rank 4, but the number is relatively small. Among 20 people, it is not possible to find a 4th rank. Moreover, those who are strong at level 4 generally have experience in deeper areas. After all, there are more high-level monsters in the depths. Generally, is very rare to see here. The power of this sword is a bit outrageous. At least diamond-level swordsmanship, right? Diamond-level skills must be at least level 35 to be able to learn them. And it's priceless. Even if you reach the 4th rank, you may not be able to afford it. Everyone, it seems that I have to withdraw first. It's not advisable to stay here for a long time. Said a short pretender. He turned into a transparent cloak and disappeared from the scene. One after another, several people left. Hey, I killed a few people and gained some experience. Good. Although I missed the diamond treasure chest, there is always a moment in life that you can't force. Everyone, see you later. The rabble suddenly dispersed like birds and beasts. Only the last 3 people were left on the field. The burly berserker, Lu Gang. His body is covered with scars, and he has always been at the forefront of the battle with Su Ming, and the 2-axe warrior, King Raf. There is also a naked and muscular blind monk, Zhao Xing. All 3 of them have very strong careers, and the levels are all 3-4 and above, which is definitely at the forefront of the deputy. These people have all fought against Su Ming before. Humph, the rest of the gang will be gone soon. Lu Gang snorted coldly and said. You too, do you want to leave? Lu Gang asked. Wang Laf shook his head. If you don't leave, that sword master is under siege. He is seriously injured and can't run far. Now that you have the ability, you can still catch up. If you miss this time, you will never have such a good opportunity again. That diamond treasure chest, you can't miss it. He is seriously injured and cannot escape. He raised his hand and grasped it, and the flying axe embedded in the ice in the distance immediately turned around and flew back, landing in his hand. Think so? The bald blind monk said with a palm in one hand and a frown on his face. His face was full of flesh, and there seemed to be an evil spirit lingering between his brows. One look at him showed that he was not a serious monk. Now we are just sure that the diamond treasure chest belongs to the sword master from before. He should not have gone far yet. We will do our best to investigate, and there should be a chance to find him. Lu Gang said. no matter what, the temptation of the diamond treasure chest is too strong, and everyone is still unwilling to give up. However, Brother Lu, the three of us are afraid it will be difficult to find this. Wang Raf said with a serious expression. At this time, the blind monk smiled indifferently, his eyes a little mysterious. You two don't have to worry about this. There is a way. Deliberately wait until those weak-minded gangsters leave, and then I will tell you. We must ensure that the teammates chasing that swordsman are all the most elite. This way, the treasures don't need to be distributed too much. After that, a screen appeared in front of him, which displayed information about one of his skills, Fist Power Mark, the blind monk's unique skill. After hitting an enemy with a fist, the fist power will remain in the body for 12 hours. When the monk opens his eyes, he will be able to follow the direction of the target. Seeing this skill, Wang Raf smiled. Brother Monk is really awesome. Lu Gang still frowned. But I see that you didn't hit him with your fists in the fight just now. How can you find him? The monk smiled slightly. Although Sejia didn't hit his body, he successfully hit his clothes. That's enough. After saying that, he opened his blind eyes. There was a flash of red light in his eyes. The trio immediately began to rush towards the location where Su Ming was. Window_Tabula equals window_Tabula push mode thumbs feed 01 container Tabula below article feed placement below article feed target_type mix. Chapter 84 Kill the General, Level 30. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The golden sword energy in the air fully extended. It took a long time to dissipate. Su Ming spun around and landed on the ground, his clothes floating in the air. He holds the sword in an elegant manner, pointing at the general's skeleton with his crossarm. Bang! Bang! Two dull loud sounds came one after another behind Su Ming. The moment it fell, two huge deep pits were created in the ice, that was cut in half heavy chain hammer. It has been completely cut apart by Su Ming's dragon-slaying technique. This chain hammer has gone through many battles with the war general. If converted into a weapon for career changers, its grade would be at least platinum level, but when faced with Su Ming's extremely sharp dragon-inlaid broken sword, with the added power of the dragon-slaying technique, it was cut open without any doubt. The skeleton warrior's movements were a little awkward, and his burly body slowly stood up. A bit of shock appeared in its empty eyes. It never thought that a human could cut open its strongest weapon with one move. Half of its body was cut open by the golden sword energy, revealing the gray rotten flesh inside. It forced itself to stand upright and raised its hand. Click, click, click. The bones all over his body made loud noises, and sometimes there were a few dusty magic smoke streams flowing around him. The dead dust blended into the wound, completely healing its body. The Ling clan is worthy of being called immortal, and they simply cannot beat Xiaoqiang to death. Such a serious injury, most of it recovered immediately. The cracks in the bones have healed. Healing is useless. Without weapons, you lose. Su Ming murmured in a calm voice. His voice was so low that the other party couldn't hear him at all, but that's okay. After all, Ling doesn't understand in the first place. In an instant, Su Ming stepped forward. The whole person turned into a long gray shadow and slashed away with his sword. The storm-broken phoenix sword is deployed. At this time, the shadow sword set's shadow slash effect was triggered. Countless jet black shadows turned into afterimages of Su Ming's entity, following behind him, circling this burly and huge spirit, and slashing. Poof. Brush. Brush. Buzz. Symphony of swords. Su Ming controlled the 6 swords to slash randomly. At the same time, there were countless shadow swordsmen behind him like ink stains, following his movements to slash. Those shadows have no outline, and even their outlines are blurry, but they can clearly be seen holding a long sword. The shadow sword dances, and the ink color flows, adding a bit of blending color to the snow-white ice sky. The shadow swordsman slashes with sharpness and ease, just like the most arrogant and lonely ancient painter, using a black ink pen to paint a picture. Swish, brush, brush. Su Ming slashed wildly. Sure enough, without the weapon, this general is just a living target. It includes auto defense, chain hammer mastery, skills such as this require a chain hammer weapon to be used. Once there is no chain hammer, you are simply a piece of fish, ready to be slaughtered. Soon, its health dropped to 40%, it swung its fists and smashed them randomly. He tried to resist Su Ming's sword, but had little success. Gradually, there were sword marks all over its body, several bones were chopped into pieces, and several pieces of rotten flesh were cut off from its body. The ancient battle armor was already broken and had holes cut out of it. Why bother to earn? Su Ming looked cold and said calmly, the sword blade hit the target, and it still slashed swiftly and violently. This moment, there was a look of anger in the eyes of the general skeleton. It suddenly stepped on its feet and let out an angry roar. He swooped directly and rushed to the distance, next to the corpses of the left and right Warhammer skeletons. What are you doing here? Su Ming was a little confused. Then, his doubts disappeared, because an extremely terrifying scene happened before my eyes. Even Su Ming has to be called a ruthless person. I saw the general picking up the two Warhammer skeletons and corpses. It's like picking up a chick. Then with a sudden force, it actually clasped the eye sockets and pulled out the whole spines of the two corpses along with the skulls. Black ashes, rotten flesh, and black spiritual blood were scattered all over the floor. Its thick arms held two huge skull vertebrae, and actually twisted them into a large chain. This vertebrae is connected with the shoulder blades, and is connected with the two corpse arms. Because their arms were stiff after death, their bones actually held the war hammer firmly. Combined with the long spine, it actually formed a double-headed long chain war hammer. One behind the other, there are arms holding war hammers at both ends, although the length is far less than that of the initial weapon, but it's also more than 2 meters long. It's a chain hammer, and it has two heads. As long as it has a chain hammer, it can cast its skills. Su Ming really didn't expect that it would use this method to resolve the situation where he had to crush its weapon. This elite monster is so damn ferocious. Roar! The war general let out a roar, brandished the bone spine chain hammer, and attacked Su Ming. This is a remade chain hammer with two hammer heads for attack. Su Ming avoided one hammer, but another hammer hit him instantly. It's simply overwhelming. There are a few more changes than before. The general skeleton directly activated the life-chasing attack. The two-headed war hammer, like a two-headed dragon, chased after Su Ming. This time, no matter how he dodged, the war hammer locked onto his head firmly. It's interesting to unlock the head. But that's all. Once hit, the head will explode in an instant. Su Ming's eyes were cold, but he was extremely calm. He directly took a light step and swayed, retreating dozens of meters, directly out of the opponent's attack range. If he had a 67-meter-long iron chain hammer, this move would be really difficult to dodge, because the pursuit distance was too far. But now, his chain hammer is only 2 meters long. Even if it can automatically lock the head, the range is limited. From a long-range attack, it has become a melee skill, so it is destined to not catch up with Su Ming. Then, Su Ming began to attack. He still used the old method, not attacking the spirit itself, but only attacking its weapons. As long as this corpse chain hammer was broken by himself again, it would be without weapons. Soon, Su Ming used the same trick again, and successfully chopped its spine chain hammer into pieces. This thing is not tough. It was without weapons again. Su Ming used the same trick again and started to chop wildly. Soon, it was completely killed. The Shadow Sword set has a Shadow attribute damage bonus, the Dragon Inlaid Broken Sword has a Fire attribute bonus, and the Holy attribute enchantment skill has a Holy attribute bonus. With multiple attribute bonuses, Su Ming performed the move of drawing the sword and killing in an instant. Directly penetrated it, finally killed this warrior elite monster completely. Puff. Kill the Withered General, elite monster. Experience value, 38,000. Extra bonus for cross-border operations, 23,800 experience. Su Ming's level was directly raised to level 30. 3 levels in a row. Because he was already at the peak of level 27, he only needed a few more experience points to reach level 28, which is equivalent to level 28, so he was basically equivalent to level 28 to level 30. Obtain 30 free attribute points. Third level task assignment in progress. Chapter 85 Diamond Weapon, Soul Hammer for the Lord. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Third level task assignment completed. Task content. Upgrade the following 3 skills to platinum quality. Thunderbolt sword, gold. Draw the sword and kill in an instant, gold. Sword control, gold. Reward. Promote to third level sword god, obtain random bloodline x1. This task is actually quite simple, it is not about hunting monsters, but about improving skill proficiency. I'm lucky this time, I got such a task randomly. I should be promoted to third level soon. Su Ming clenched his fists, his heart full of excitement, he raised his sword and swung it directly, whoosh whoosh whoosh. 6 swords were suspended in the air, and the sword control technique began to whip the corpse of the dead general was directly cut into pieces. The skill proficiency of sword control is maxed out. Promoted to lower platinum quality. Article, sword control, platinum lower grade. Proficiency, 30,000//100,000. Sword control with art, even better than skill. The underlying logic of the sword control skill has undergone a qualitative change. Originally, sword control was simply controlled by the rules of the skill, which was a bit stiff, but now after the upgrade, it has the influence of the heart art. The so-called art is the words of the heart. It means that Su Ming is no longer able to control with the art in his heart. Now, sword control is more flexible and flexible. The power has increased a lot, and the speed of the sword flying controlled by the mind is many times faster. Su Ming feels very satisfied. Sword control is almost the skill I use most frequently, so I have accumulated a lot of proficiency. So I just chop the corpse a few times and get a few hundred proficiency points, which can upgrade it to platinum level. Now the problem is that there are only 2 skills left, Thunder Sword and Sword Drawing Kill. Su Ming touched his chin and fell into deep thought. These 2 skills have just been upgraded to gold level, not long ago, so I still need some experience to reach platinum level. Thunder Sword. Proficiency, 23092//30,000. Sword Drawing Kill. Proficiency, 24861//30,000. If there is only a few hundred points difference, then Su Ming can use the skill on the air or corpses to make up for the proficiency, but if there are still a few thousand points difference, it will not be so simple. The amount of proficiency gained from practicing skills against the air and killing enemies with skills in actual combat is completely different. The difference is several times. It takes dozens of times to raise the proficiency of air swings to the maximum. In actual combat, 1 or 2 times can increase the proficiency by several thousand. If you use skills against the air many times to quickly improve your proficiency, your mental and physical strength will soon be exhausted. Su Ming does not have that much physical strength to waste casually. This dungeon is full of dangers and monsters. Exhaustion of physical strength means vulnerability. He does not want to be attacked by monsters without the physical strength to fight back. Forget it, let's be steady for now. Anyway, I have the talent for automatic cultivation, and I will increase my proficiency at any time. Even if I do nothing, I can complete the task requirements within a day. There is no need to be too fast. Su Ming said in a serious tone, haste makes waste. At this time, he looked at the corpse of the dead general with thousands of holes. The list of spoils appeared: exquisite armor synthesis, low-grade platinum, bone chain hammer, high-grade platinum. The bones of the dead general twisted and automatically twisted into a group of bone chain hammers, entering Su Ming's personal space. The corpse bones turned into a platinum-grade weapon. This is the first time I have seen it. Su Ming took the hammer first, gray-black bones, interlocking, like a steel-cast chain, about 7 meters long. The hammer head is a skull of an undead, heavy and hard. When swinging, it feels extremely powerful. Su Ming swung it twice, bang. Boom. The ice surface was smashed. This weapon is really powerful. Without the power bonus of the original sword body, it can still smash the ice surface. It is conceivable that it is not a top-notch weapon. However, this weapon requires a chain hammer mastery skill to exert its maximum power, and Su Ming is not a master of chain hammer weapons, so he can't exert the true power of this hammer. Sublimate it. If there are still equipment restrictions, sell it. Su Ming said in a serious voice, sublimate. The appearance of this hammer has changed dramatically. the whole bone chain has become much thinner. Moreover, there are layers of gray cartilage on the surface, which looks like a spine buckle. The whole chain looks like it is still alive. Every time it is swung, there will be a slowly creeping gray-black smoke flowing between the links, and the hammer head has also changed. From the original undead skull, it has become a condensed triangular bone hammer, small, delicate, but heavy, sharp edges and corners, full of gray-black, mixed with ice steel texture. It looks like the color has a strange dark blue and the gray-white texture unique to bones. Bone meteor chain hammer weapon. Diamond mid-quality. Requirements for use, possessing chain hammer proficiency. Introduction, a chain hammer made from the bones of an elite undead warrior, which contains a heavy killing intent and can crush all weak creatures. The chain bone can shrink and stretch at will, like the spine of a living snake, and can be up to 10 meters long. Affix, the will of the undead warrior is sealed in this bone, which allows the user to temporarily obtain the chain hammer mastery skill when holding it. Dead strike, when hitting, it adds a large amount of corrosion attribute damage. Master protection hammer, this chain hammer will use the automatic defense skill. It can automatically block all attacks on the holder, like a spirit snake. Su Ming's eyes were slightly surprised. He was originally going to sell this weapon, but after seeing the affix attribute, he immediately changed his mind. This hammer is too powerful. It has the chain hammer mastery skill, which means it can be equipped without any restrictions. Su Ming, a swordsman, can use it without any hindrance. He held the hammer handle in his hand and felt a chill. After sublimation, the whole hammer shrank a lot, and it looked more like a chain whip, which can be carried with you, and it is completely retracted, and the length is very short, and it can even be pinned behind the waist. The moment I held it, I felt that my strength attribute was also increased by at least 100 points. Su Ming murmured, the attribute bonus of this weapon is also very considerable. The most powerful affix effect of this bone meteor should be, Master Protection Hammer, which can protect me at any time. I wonder if it will work when I don't hold it but wear it with me. Su Ming decided to experiment. He tied the chain hammer behind his waist, he raised it and swung it, whoosh. The Xianfeng sword behind him flew out of the sheath and flew towards his shoulder. This is to use the sword control technique to attack himself. Su Ming's move was very ruthless, and this sword was really aimed at his shoulder. There was no pause or preparation at all. Because he really wanted to hit himself anyway, he has self-healing blood, so there is no need to worry. Dang! There was only a sound. Chapter 86, Decayed Sword Shirt. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding! There was only a sound. The chain hammer behind Su Ming, like a living snake, swooshed out from behind his waist, like Su Ming's tail. It fiercely hit the Xianfeng sword at his side. The Xianfeng sword shook violently, as if it had been hit hard. It flew upside down and stuck into the ice surface dozens of meters away. The effect of Spirit Protection Hammer was really triggered. Even if you don't hold this weapon, you can trigger this effect. Su Ming's eyes were shocked. This was definitely a great surprise. Too powerful. This is equivalent to a fully automatic defense equipment that can protect me at any time. Even if I sleep in the wild, few monsters can hurt me. Su Ming was in a good mood. He directly treated this weapon as a treasure. He didn't plan to sell it, and decided to keep it for himself. This weapon will be of great help to me in the battle. Crack, crack, crack. After the chain hammer blocked the attack, it immediately made a series of dense sounds of bones colliding and twisting, then it shortened. It automatically returned to the waist and completely shrunk to the length of a dagger. It was stuck on Su Ming's belt, very perfect. The long, triangular hammer head hung behind the waist, still turning slowly, as if searching for who dared to attack it. Su Ming took back the sword and took out another trophy, ripped battle robe, platinum lower grade. This is a coat that exploded when I killed the 2 twin hammer skeletons. It was a bit tattered, and there was still some rotten dust on it. But this piece of clothing is extremely tough and has very good defense. The affix effect is also okay, but Su Ming's shadow sword coat is of better quality than this one, so he didn't change it. He chose to upgrade it first. If the properties after upgrading are very good, then consider equipping this one. Sublimation success. Corrupted battle suit, platinum item. Introduction. a battle robe from ancient times that has experienced countless hardships. Affix residual soul as thread. When this coat is equipped, the defense against undead magic is greatly improved. Corrupted bones as seams. When this coat is equipped, the resistance to damage from the two attributes of corruption and darkness is greatly improved. Su Ming touched it and thought about it, but he didn't change it yet. This clothes needs to provide defense, so Su Ming's hidden God step and light water step are generally not vulnerable. If you change it, you will lose the bonus of the shadow sword set. It's just like throwing away a watermelon for a sesame seed, so Su Ming naturally couldn't change it. He could only put the equipment away. Then he took out a piece of exquisite dark green cloth. Don't underestimate this cloth, it's a platinum item, exquisite armor synthetic cloth, low-grade platinum, disposable item, after use, you can fuse two small armor-type equipment into one to improve the quality, limited parts, arm guards, foot gear, belt, head crown, the level of the fused item is limited, low-grade platinum, this kind of thing. Su Ming has used it before, so he is very familiar with it. It can fuse two different equipment together to obtain a brand new equipment, and can inherit the affixes of the original equipment to a certain extent. Of course, it is not 100% inherited, as the saying goes, you can gain only by giving up, and you may lose affixes, but the probability of improving the quality of the equipment is very high. In general, it is also a good item. It's a pity that this can only fuse small armors, and large armors like outerwear cannot be fused. Sublimate it. Su Ming said in a serious tone, sublimation success. Platinum outerwear synthetic cloth, platinum product, one-time item, can fuse two pieces of armor equipment with quality not higher than platinum level. Limited parts, outerwear, arm guards, footwear, belt, crown, limited level of fused items, platinum product. After sublimation, it is much more powerful. All armors within platinum quality can be directly fused. Large armor outerwear can also be fused. Su Ming immediately took out his shadow sword coat and put it next to him, then he took out the broken outerwear, corrupted battle suit, that he had just sublimated. I may lose the effect of the shadow sword set in this fusion. But you can't catch a wolf without sacrificing a child, so give it a try. I hope you can synthesize a diamond-level equipment for me. Su Ming's eyes were solemn, and he was actually a little nervous, but even the worst result can be accepted, because even without the shadow sword coat, you still have the shadow stream long sword. Adding the other 4 pieces of armor, you can still trigger the 5/5 shadow stream set effect, so this gamble is worth it. The risk is not very high. Synthesis successful. The 2 coats were instantly fused into one. Decayed sword shirt, lower diamond grade, a diamond equipment was really synthesized. Su Ming's luck attribute is too high, so the success rate of everything he does is extremely high. I was in a good mood. I immediately checked the information of this equipment. Decayed sword shirt, lower diamond grade, introduction, decay marks run through the collar of the garment, and the seams are so frightening that ghosts and gods are shocked. Diamond level outer cape, with strong defense, and can add a certain bonus to swordsmanship. Affix fusing seams. This garment has a strong tolerance and can be judged as a part of any set. Defense against the dead. After wearing this garment, an invisible field will appear around you, which can resist some undead magic. That is, when the undead magic attacks approach, they will decay naturally, and the power will decrease sharply, or even disappear. Decay sword energy. After wearing this garment, your normal attack will have a 30% chance to add decay sword energy, with high damage of decay attribute. Su Ming's eyes trembled slightly. He put this garment on directly. This garment is a bit tattered, and it looks like a thin gray cloak. The whole face is covered with crisscrossing scars. There is still some decay at the collar, like a moldy layer of ashes. After wearing it, Su Ming looks extremely oppressive, like a ghost who just walked out of a coffin. It looks broken, but in fact, this piece of clothing is extremely tough. Su Ming used the sword to gently cut it twice, but it couldn't be cut open. It is conceivable that it is even more difficult to break, and the most important thing is the last affix effect, decay sword chi, normal attack. There is a probability of adding decay attribute damage. This is a fun thing. although the skill cannot be triggered, the normal attack has a probability of triggering the decay sword chi, which is also very strong. As long as the decay attribute attack hits the enemy, the flesh and blood around the wound will immediately rot, directly disintegrating the defense. The power of decay can be used on any material. Steel armor, iron sheets, and heavy steel shells can all be decayed. Once decayed, they will become brittle and become extremely easy to break through, because this is almost equivalent to the power of time. Even steel and black ice will decay under the influence of a long enough time, so it is an affix ability that can make any enemy's defense fragile. The affix, melt, is also very strong. It means that this piece of clothing is equivalent to a universal coat that can trigger all set effects. The effect of Su Ming's shadow sword set is also preserved, and for a long time, there should be no need to change the coat. Even if you get another set in the future, you can continue to use this piece of clothing. By the way, there is one last loot. Elite Undead Soul Ash Alchemy Material, gold item. This was also exploded from the 2 Warhammer Undead. Chapter 87, Proficiency that comes to your doorstep. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 87 delivered to your door. Proficiency. This medicine refining material is of no use to me. It's better to try sublimation. Su Ming directly used to sublimate all things. Sublimation success. Interestless dead soul alchemy materials, diamond top grade. Introduction. The core energy extracted from the viscera of the dead elite undead is an insubstantial magical substance and an excellent suicide tool. It has a powerful amount of, mixed with medicine, and can provide temporary immunity to death within 0.1 to 1 second. Effect of direct swallowing, immediate death. Su Ming looked slightly startled. It was actually directly upgraded from gold quality to top quality diamond. My luck is so damn good. But if you want to refine this kind of potion, you also need to have extremely high skills. If you are a very strong alchemist, you can maximize the effect of this material, then it can provide temporary immunity to the death effect within 1 second. Time is almost an instant. But, many times, a moment is enough. If you encounter that kind of very powerful killing move, then this thing will definitely be immune to it once. Bug level rare materials, be sure to keep it for yourself. This thing might be able to save lives in the future. Su Ming folded his wings. Suddenly, Su Ming frowned slightly and heard footsteps coming from the fog around him. Zhao Xing, are you sure he is in this direction? This place seems to be very close to the golden sword energy in the sky. Let's not provoke the hidden master. Fong, my skill sensing is very accurate, it will never be wrong. The blind monk looked confident, opened his cloudy eyes, and looked around. And, I am sure that if I can slay that golden sword energy. Because there is an aura here, which is the aura of the god of death. The double-axe warrior King La nodded, with a ferocious smile on his face. That's good. If he is alone, we can let go and fight without worrying about disturbing the expert. There is Lu Gang, his eyes are always cold, his tall body is slightly hunched, and his movements are very cautious. He had always had a vague feeling that something was wrong, but for the diamond treasure chest, he endured it. The temptation is too strong. Suddenly, everyone saw a huge corpse in front of them. It was the man who had been cut with so many holes by Su Ming that he had no bones left and turned into a ball of rotten flesh, and the corpse of the general. Hiss. This undead monster is so big, so it's probably a very high level. The golden sword energy from before was probably used against this undead spirit. Several people walked forward slowly with solemn eyes. They took a step forward and saw a huge sword mark on the ice around them. It is tens of meters long. TSK, it's too fierce. When we reach the peak of rank 3, or even rank 4, we should be able to have such powerful skills. Everyone moved on. Finally, I broke through the layers of fog and saw a familiar figure. The young man's figure is thin, there were 6 long swords surrounding him, slowly floating. He turned his back to everyone, wore a torn robe, and had messy hair. The whole body has a very majestic temperament. There seemed to be invisible murderous aura surging around him. When the 3 people saw Su Ming, they all became conscious and trembled. This is the killing intent that has been refined hundreds of times and is extremely refined and pure. The moment he saw Su Ming, Wang Yalei's eyes flashed in shock. This, can't be the one who slashed out the golden sword energy, right? Warrior monk, didn't you say that guy is here? That he glared at Zhao Xing. Zhao Xing smiled calmly. Huh, Brother Wang, will you take a closer look? Wang pulled the little girl forward and observed carefully, only then did he realize that he was the sword master boy from before. His clothes were so torn that he must have been seriously injured, being able to escape here is indeed the limit. It turns out it's him. Okay, it seems that the senior officer has indeed left. Wang La took a step forward, scolded Su Ming with a ferocious smile. Boy! Don't think that I won't recognize you if you change your clothes. Su Ming turned around slowly, there was no surprise in his eyes, but he was extremely calm. Oh, it's you. I'm worried that I can't find you. Su Ming originally wanted to take revenge on these people who had besieged him and kill them one by one. Unexpectedly, these 3 people came over on their own initiative. It really saves him money. The only thing that makes me a little disappointed, is that with the 3 of you here, I can't catch them all. As he spoke, he lightly hooked his fingers, and the 6 flying swords slowly circled around him. He had an evil smile on his face, and he was dressed in a torn grey robe, full of decay. It looks like a magic sword cultivator. Several people looked at Su Ming with cold sneers on their faces. Ha, pretending to be a ghost. Zhao Xing said, taking a step forward. Tell me, where is the diamond treasure chest? As he spoke, he suddenly closed his blind eyes, then, he raised his arms, which were covered with Buddhist inscriptions. It looked like golden light was flowing, full of explosions, obviously entering a fighting posture. Blind monks have no vision, they only open their eyes occasionally when they are using skills, they fight with their ears. Su Ming looked around, his posture straight. More than a dozen people couldn't take me down before, and now you 3 dare to come and seek death. Su Ming said, he looked calm, not panicking at all. Wang La smiled heroically when he heard this, even the beard on his face couldn't cover his smile. He held a pair of heavy axes in his palms. Although he was short and fat, his oppressiveness was also extraordinary. Little brother, what is your title? God of Killing. You choose such a terrifying title. I don't know who you want to scare, it's really childish. He said with a mocking smile, then, his face became extremely sinister, and all the smiles disappeared completely. Young man, I have one last word of advice for you. Don't waste your efforts, you can't scare us. We have fought with you before, and we know how strong you are. You are indeed very strong. If you don't pay attention, you may really kill a few high-ranking people, but it's just a burst of energy in an instant. You have been besieged by more than a dozen people before, and you have no physical strength, and your mental strength is probably exhausted. You have hidden injuries on your body, and you won't be hurt. Now you are a spent force. It's meaningless to keep holding on. Tell us the location of the diamond treasure chest quickly, and we will spare your life. Wang La raised his double axes, which were already filled with dark axe energy, and his skills were almost ready to go. From the beginning to the end, there was Lu Gang standing by his side, who had not spoken a word. His face was always gloomy, secretly preparing for the battle. He had always felt that there was an ominous premonition. But now the battle was about to begin, and he could not afford to retreat. So he also stood up, and his burly figure suddenly grew. Fortune and wealth are dangerous to seek. Fight. Watching the 3 people preparing to go, Su Ming had a blank expression on his face. He stood with his back to his chest, unmoved. The blind monk Zhao Xing stepped forward and persuaded him. We are also seeking wealth. Life is nothing more than the word profit. If you hand over the diamond treasure box, we will never kill you by force. After all, we don't have any blood feud. Life treasure, you choose one, he said generously. Hearing this, the smile on Su Ming's face slowly faded. 3 of you. He sighed and shook his head, as if he was a little disappointed. Don't you understand yet? At this point, whether there is a blood feud or not is not up to you to decide. But I think there is a blood feud. His eyes were extremely cold. Even if you don't kill me today, I will kill you. After saying this, he actually chose to take the initiative to attack. 6 long swords flew out. turned into a torrent, and shot towards the three people. Window, _Taboola equals window, _Taboola dot push, mode, thumbs, feed, 01, container, Taboola below article feed, placement, below article feed, target _type, mix. Chapter 88 6 Swords Fly Together, Kill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 88 Swords Fly Together, Kill. All the long swords flew together, and the power and speed were qualitatively improved compared to the past. The three people suddenly felt that it was extremely difficult to resist. Ding! Bang! Ka! The three people used their own skills to defend, the original sword body plus the sword control skills. Even if it was just a light ordinary slash, they could barely stop it with all their strength. No, it's impossible. You have experienced more than a dozen sieges and fled in a panic. How could your state recover so quickly? Aren't you injured? That the few people said in disbelief. Even if you have a healing potion, it is impossible to leave no injuries at all. Even. I feel that the power of his skills has increased instead of decreased. Damn. How come the power has increased so much? The three of them exclaimed unconsciously. They didn't know that Su Ming had already reached level 30. The combat power is now different from the past. Although Su Ming has not yet distributed the attribute points immediately, the gap between the levels is indeed smaller, and the suppression of the rules on Su Ming has also weakened, so he can exert 100% combat power. Naturally, it will be much stronger than before. The blind monk waved his fists and activated the skill, Empty Fist, defending against the attacks of the Mystic Ice Sword and the Black Falling Sword. The two swords are made of different materials, one light and one heavy, and it is like resisting two completely different types of enemies. It is extremely difficult to defend. Soon, he was injured. The wrist and shoulder were cut by the Xianbing sword. The Xianbing sword affix effect was directly triggered, and his wounds were immediately frostbitten and necrotic. The severe pain made the blind monk grimaced. He was not a high monk, but a martial monk. He never ate vegetarian food or chanted Buddhist scriptures, and it was even more impossible for him to sit and chant scriptures, so he was also a layman, and his willpower was not strong at all. Soon, he roared in pain, and he had to grit his teeth to continue fighting. Wang Lafu was not optimistic either. The Shadow Stream long sword and the Xianfeng sword flew and slashed at him, attacking at a high speed. He was a double-axe warrior, and was not originally a speed-type profession, but a strength-added profession. Although he had a strong offensive force and was known for his fierceness, his defense was not strong. Facing such a fast attack speed, he was simply unable to resist the sword technique. Soon, his whole body was covered with sword marks, blood was flowing. The most terrifying thing was that the Shadow Stream long sword had dark attribute damage. Even if he blocked some attacks with his axe, the damage could still penetrate his defense and reach his body. His health value was rapidly reduced. LV Gang was alone, dealing with the dragon-inlaid broken sword and the skill, Mind Condensed Blade, shaped long sword. The dragon-inlaid broken sword was the most difficult to deal with. This was a diamond-level weapon, extremely sharp. He roared. An animal hair grew all over his body, and his whole body became much taller and more sturdy. He was not a pure berserker, but a berserker's job transfer, beast berserker. Many skills could transform the body into beasts and enhance combat effectiveness. He roared, trembling all over, and turned into a standing tiger. Claws grew from the fingertips of both hands. He tried his best to resist the swords, but soon, he was wounded all over. The dragon-embedded broken sword even ignited the animal hair on his shoulder, burning him and making him scream. Su Ming stood there with a cold smile on his face. When he was in his 20s, he could kill a third-turn sword with 20 times the power of the original sword body. Now he is already level 30, and he is almost half a step away from truly stepping into the third turn. It is also the so-called half-step third-turn realm. This group of people is courting death with him. He was originally worried that he was not proficient enough and there was no strong enemy to kill him with his skills. Now, this group of people has come to his door. As long as you draw your sword and kill them with the Sword of Thunder, you can immediately gain thousands of proficiency in these two skills. The third-level mission is now completed. In the past, it was difficult to control two swords at the same time with the sword control skill. At the same time, it was even more difficult to control the Mind Condensed Blade, and make the sword suspended in the air. Even if it is possible, the power will be greatly reduced. So in the past, Su Ming always held the sword with both hands and then suspended the sword in the air to fight the enemy, but now, his sword control skill has reached the platinum quality, and it is more than enough to drive two swords to slash the enemy in the air at the same time. The terrifying sword light flashed, constantly dividing and cutting. In this icy and snowy land, more blood splashed out. Because the weather was too cold, the blood gushing out of the wounds of these three people would immediately freeze into icicles, fall to the ground, and break into pieces. Damn, something is wrong. LV Gang, Wang Lafu. This kid is so fucking wrong. His strength is indeed much stronger than before. It's really not an illusion. Could it be that he has been hiding his strength? That the blind monk looked ugly and gradually retreated. Wang Lafu and LV Gang also realized that something was wrong. No matter what, we have three people on our side. We must not lose, kill. Even if we risk getting hurt, we must kill this kid first. That's a diamond treasure chest. They actually started to attack even if they were injured, and fought Su Ming desperately. Seeing the three people's hysterical appearance, Su Ming was tired of playing. It's time to end this battle, so as not to have more troubles. He raised his hand and waved. He urged the sword and slashed with all his strength. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The number of wounds doubled. Several people gradually began to lose their physical strength. In this icy and snowy environment, the speed of physical energy consumption is much faster than in normal environments. They had been defending in a panic before, and they had no strength left. That's why they chose to fight desperately. Otherwise, they would be exhausted sooner or later. On the other hand, Su Ming was always strolling leisurely. However, there was no carelessness in Su Ming's eyes. Although his swordsmanship was strong, he must not be arrogant. He is such a cautious person. The most important thing is, he knows very well, his physical strength is really exhausted. After all, he just went through a difficult and dangerous battle. He killed 3 elite undead monsters alone, and then fought these 3 monsters non-stop. He even used the diamond skill, dragon slaying technique. Once Su Ming has not had time to rest. The round-robin battle consumes a lot of his physical strength. Now he only has the last bit of mental strength, but it is more than enough to kill these 3 monsters. Su Ming's fingers lightly moved. Whoosh. 2 swords flew over and fell into his hands. Boom. The azure blue thunder burst out. In the lightning, there are a few blood rays, which seem to be full of violent aura. Holding both swords, he controlled the suspended swords at the same time, slashed them from a distance, and blocked the 3 people's escape routes. He tried to force all 3 people into a straight line. In this way, Su Ming could draw his sword and kill them instantly with one strike. Chapter 89, Completely Crushed, promoted to the 3rd level. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 89, Completely Crushed, promoted to the top. Wang Lafu and the monk Zhao Xing were so focused on fighting Su Ming that they didn't realize that they had been forced into a straight line. The beastman Lu Gang was the first to notice this. Although he was burly, he was smart and thoughtful. No. Something's wrong. His brows furrowed, and his forward speed slowed down a bit. Not good. He's going to force us into a straight line, that he shouted immediately, reminding the 2 people around him. He immediately remembered that Su Ming had used the sword-drawing skill before. That sword-drawing skill was extremely powerful and very fast. With the addition of thunder flashing, he could kill 2 tops with one strike and seriously injure several tops. Su Ming had used that move before to kill the Flame Fist Master and an enchanter. Now Su Ming intended to use the flying sword to force the 2 people into a line, obviously wanting to repeat the same trick. While he was talking, Su Ming had already bowed slightly, sheathed the sword, and began to make a gesture of drawing the sword. What if he noticed it? It was too late to avoid it. The sword had blocked their possibility of evasion. The terrifying sword sound resounded around. Su Ming's hands began to tremble in a familiar way. It seemed difficult to control the sword intent. Of course, the sword can be drawn and killed instantly, and it can even be used without a scabbard. However, the power is the greatest after charging. No matter what, the enemy is a tough warrior. If you don't charge up and draw your sword to kill him in one go, it will be difficult to kill him in one blow. In order to be absolutely safe, Su Ming chose to maximize the damage. He charged up and moved, which was extremely handsome. Electric light flowed all over his body. Looking at this familiar posture, even if Wang Lafu was slow, he was still conscious. Damn it! Once he uses that move, we can't even fight to the death to save our lives. Let's avoid it first. Wang Lafu looked ugly and wanted to retreat suddenly. I finally got so close despite getting injured. In the end, all my efforts are in vain. The blind monk gritted his teeth and said with a black face, as a melee profession, Su Ming's flying sword made him feel extremely uncomfortable. He finally managed to get a few steps closer despite getting injured, and was about to defeat him, but now he had to retreat. He was in great pain. This sword master, whose realm was similar to his, how could his skills be so difficult and fierce? However, when he retreated, he suddenly felt a cold sword edge passing by his ear. Whoosh, a burst of blood flowed, a sword came from behind and cut off one of his ears. He screamed, he turned his head and looked. He saw that the sword had begun to rotate around him, forming a sword formation. They were tightly tied in it, unable to escape. You've been prepared. You used the flying sword to block our retreat in advance in order to make this move a sure hit. Wang Lafu was shocked, and one of his legs was also cut off, so he couldn't escape. This kid is so young, but he has so much combat experience, that there was a bit of horror in the eyes of the calm Lu gang. It felt like everyone was like a puppet, and all their actions were within Su Ming's expectations. Fuck. I can't fight you. If I retreat forcibly, I will be chopped by the flying sword and covered with wounds, and I will be at your mercy. In that case, it's better to hammer you to death. Wang Lafu was also angry. After all, his body was covered with wounds. We have two people, at least one or two can survive. Use your fastest skills, keep charging. All of them immediately activated their fastest skills at the same time. The blind monk activated, water-shaped forward fist. He took a step forward, as if he was walking on flowing water, and his fist was surrounded by a layer of Buddha light, smashing towards Su Ming's head. Wang Lafu threw out his double axes and flew away. Lu gang transformed into a cheetah, rushed towards Su Ming at the fastest speed, and opened his bloody mouth. Very good, there is a chance. We won, everyone said. Listening to the approach of the two people, Su Ming waited patiently. At the critical moment, in an instant, he suddenly opened his eyes. He drew his sword. Whoosh! Crash, thunder burst, a terrifying sword mark flashed out. Su Ming held two swords in his left and right hands, and drew his swords at the same time to kill. The power was extremely terrifying. He directly cut out a sword mark that was more than 10 meters long, which shattered the ice surface on the ground for a long time. It perfectly penetrated a person's body. Even the two axes flying in the air were chopped into pieces. They were stunned and had not reacted yet. No. Impossible. How come the power is so fast this time? Previously, Su Ming accumulated power for several seconds before he successfully killed Zhe Shuhong. Now, it took less than 2 seconds to accumulate power and kill people, and the power, it was not weaker than the previous sword. Wang Lafu and Zhao Xingdu were stunned, full of horror. As soon as they realized it, they wanted to take out the healing potion to drink. However, their health points had already returned to 0. In an instant, they fell to the ground and died with their eyes open. They didn't even have time to say their last words. The last person left alive is Lu gang. The beast berserker has the highest level among these people, reaching level 35, and at the moment when Su Ming drew his sword and slashed at him, the beast turned into a turtle and barely blocked the sword, but he didn't have much blood left, and half of his body was cut off. He flew backwards and couldn't get up again. He was covered in blood and looked at Su Ming with a face that looked like a ghost. Su Ming walked slowly in front of him with an expressionless face. He looked down at the dying man. At this moment, a series of prompt sounds rang in Su Ming's mind. Sword draw and kill skill plus 4480. Thunderbolt sword skill plus 3991. Skill upgrade. Hidden sword slash, platinum. Sword in the sheath, hidden and restrained. Sword intent is ready, instantly activated, unparalleled power. Thunderbolt enchanted sword, platinum. The violent thunder is attached to the blade. a sword strike can destroy the enemy's defense and paralyze the enemy's body. 2 skills, instantly upgraded to platinum level. Completed the task requirements. Transformation task completed, promoted to transformation sword god, original sword body full effect, increased to 30 times, all attributes plus 10, obtain a roulette draw chance. Promoted to level 31. Obtain 10 free attribute points, currently a total of 40 free attributes, please distribute as soon as possible. Task rewards are being distributed, random bloodline X1, instantly, a screen appeared in front of Su Ming, various characters began to flash rapidly on the screen, everyone's eyes were attracted. Bloodline has very strong abilities, and its effect is second only to talent, and it usually has a permanent effect, so I was looking forward to it. Various bloodlines flashed in front of my eyes. There were even several times when I flashed the mythical bloodline. In the end, I gained a brand new bloodline power.